It finally happens on one of these days. Eventually, an astronaut dies in space soon. For example, this death may occur on the way to Mars. The astronaut may be an interstellar passenger riding a single-man spacecraft. The body of that astronaut or his spaceship may have been wandering in space for decades or even millions of years. It also moves in space until gravity eventually forces it to land. The most probable event is that the corpse will ultimately hit a star. But let's assume that the corpse eventually falls to the surface of a planet, like a seed blown by the wind into rich soil. Could this wandering seed transfer life to another world? Let's take a look together. Microbial travelers. There are two ways for the human body to carry the seed of life to other planets in the universe. First, by bringing microbial life. If all those germs and viruses and individual cells in the body die. Second, creating a spark for new life. Both are possible. Gary King, a Louisiana State University microbiologist who is studying microbes that can withstand harsh environmental conditions, says, "If your question is, can a corpse take microbial life with it to other planets? I have to say the answer is yes. Our bodies are full of microbes that we know can withstand harsh conditions," says King. Even dry and cold conditions such as space. According to King, three main elements are involved in a body being able to place its bacteria on another planet. The first is in what container the body is placed. Second, what is the environment of the chamber? And third, how long the corpse travels in space. First, the chances of transferring life are zero if the carcass is thrown into space. That is, it is impossible if you imagine that a corpse in its spacesuit could carry life. If the planet's gravity traps the corpse, it will burn completely in the same atmosphere. The body must be inside a spaceship. Even in these circumstances, entering the atmosphere can be harmful. In addition, the spacecraft must be opened after the collision so that the remaining microbes have a chance to spread. Secondly, the space inside the body holding chamber should be adequate. If the body is in an environment where the air temperature is higher than the freezing point of water and the water in its liquid form is moving in that chamber, then the conditions are ideal. But these conditions are not necessarily necessary for the preservation of bacteria. When researchers need to keep the cultured bacteria for a long time, they freeze them. That is, the culture medium is frozen and then dried completely. Then they can send this pallet anywhere they want. Given that the space is a unique freezer dryer, we see that the conditions in the space are not so bad for storing microorganisms. The most crucial factor is the third factor. That is, how long does the corpse travel in space? If we assume that our body is moving at the same speed as a satellite, then travel within the solar system seems possible for microbial life. But if we want to talk about interstellar travel, we must consider the time scale of millions of years. The closest solar system to us is Proxima Centauri, which is 2.4 light-years away. The more the corpse floats in space, the more cosmic radioactive radiation it receives. An organism that has been exposed to radiation for a long time undergoes numerous mutations in its organ structure. When we talk about millions of years of space travel, the chances of microbial life remaining are minimal. Of course, it is not impossible for one of the millions and billions of bacteria on the corpse to survive. Body chemistry. Okay. Suppose the body of our astronaut completes its journey, but it loses all its microbial passengers along the way. For example, because travel time has been long. For example, billions of years have passed since the beginning of the travel, and not only the last particle of microbial life, but even the planet Earth has disappeared. Can the body of an astronaut left with only fatty acids, amino acids, and carbohydrate units create new life? Nobel laureate Jack William Szostak, a Harvard Medical School geneticist, and Lee Cronin, a chemist studying life genetics at the University of Glasgow, agree that the body can produce life, but the conditions must be perfectly ideal. The molecules that emanate from the astronaut's body can potentially speed up the life formation process, says Szostak. But only if the environmental conditions are ideal for the reformation of life. First of all, we have to ask, how many astronauts' bodies have to fall on one planet to be able to form life on another planet statistically, says Cronin. The scientist believes that it would be better for several bodies to fall on a planet to increase the density of chemicals and microbes, and thus increase the likelihood of life being transferred to that planet. Who knows, says Cronin. Perhaps life on Earth began in the same way. So to ensure life in the universe, it is better to put several corpses in space to ensure that life in the universe continues.